Okay, we left off on page 5, starting with Certificate of Basic Biblical Studies up at the top, or Bible Studies. Now this is your second level that's going to be in the classroom. Now this will have tests, it'll have a little bit of memory work with it. There is a $45 or $15 a credit hour tuition fee on this level. There's a one-time application fee of $25. It's not refundable. That $25 goes to setting up their files and everything in the computers and the file boxes across the street. Each student, again, should participate in the class discussion. They must complete their study guide exercises. They do have to memorize a few verses. Now, what they can do, they have a choice. They can write them in front of you, 1 or 2 verses every week, or they can write their verses on the test. That's their choice. Or they can bring you the Bible they've memorized out of, where you can follow along and they can quote it to you. So we make it pretty easy on the memory work, but they do have to complete all of the memory work to pass the course. There's each test has to have a grade of 70 or above. You can't have a 60 on one test and an 80 on another test and say, well, I've got a 70 average for the course. So we do make an exception, though, because we don't want to discourage people from taking classes and taking it. So if a student fails a course or a test, we'll notify you as administrator, and try within a week, week and a half to let the student retake the test. We will not send back the failed test but if say the student gets 100 on the retake, 70 is the highest grade he will get because he's already seen the test once. So that's fair to the other students that only took it once. They will, on the completion of the 40 required courses, they will receive a Certificate of Basic Bible Studies from Sunset International Bible Institute. They will be invited to come here in May with the graduates at the resident school and walk the stage and get their certificate at that time. The third level is the Bachelor of Biblical Studies. Now, as it says, it's the most demanding, but it's the most rewarding. It involves all the other things we have talked about with the audit and the certificate level, but they are going to have extra assignments. They're going to have more scripture. They're going to have more reading. They're going to, depending on the course, they're going to have 1 to 3 textbooks. They're going to have 1 to 3 research papers, maybe 1 or 2 book evaluations that they're going to have to do. Now, following the completion of 20 courses at the bachelor's level and meeting all the other requirements of SIBI, they can apply for the associate degree of biblical studies. And then upon the completion of the full 40 courses and meeting all the curriculum that in our requirements here, they may apply for the Bachelor of Biblical Studies from Sunset. In those, again, completing the 20 or the 40 will be invited to come here and walk across the stage to receive their diploma with the resident students. The tuition is $30 per credit hour. All of our courses have a 3-hour value, so it's $90 per course. Again, they have that one-time application fee of $25. They're encouraged to participate in the class discussions. There will be some more reading assignments. There'll be a lot more memory verses. They again have to have a 70 or better. There is a graduation fee for each of the associate or the bachelor level. There's a $50 fee that covers the diploma and the cost of us having it printed and made. A lot of times students have asked us about other colleges if they will accept our courses. Are they transferable? Well, every school and every university and college, all of their courses are transferable. It's the other end, will they accept them? So what the student has to do is call us and have us mail a transcript to the college or school that he's looking at, and then that school will say, well, we'll accept this one, not these two here. It's their choice. Just like us, people will send us their transcripts. We will only transfer a like course that we have in Bible, and it has to be a B or better to transfer to Sunset from another university or school. Now the forms, those two I just passed out, this one here is the application for each student. Now these, as a satellite school, the ones of you don't have one going, you need to have a locked file box in your office in which tests are kept, and like these applications here, you will make a photocopy for your file. For each of your students will have a file in your box, but it needs to be under lock and key. This is not for just anybody to go look at. Only the administrator and stuff of your school needs to even see these. You will mail us the original and keep a copy for yourself. On that form that I passed around that you guys filled out, we're going to be removing it from here for satellite schools. So basically it's going to end up on the back side, kind of with just right across here. This will just come off, and it's going to be a separate form, which you'll keep a copy of that. You'll keep a copy of these in your files. And what it is, you make, whenever you're going to start another class, just make what copies you need. Mail us the original, keep a copy for yourself. Now, as an administrator, for every student, you don't have to fill out one of these. All we need is one, that this is who you are, and you're authorized to sign their test. So is there any questions on this? Yes?
The question is, a lot of people, we in my congregation, we do this on a Wednesday night. We do one class on a Wednesday night. And we got a lot of people that they see that form, they go, hey, I don't want to do that. I just want to come in and sit on the class. I mean,
Yeah, an audit student doesn't have to if they don't want to.
because we basically only have audited students.
Yes.
We don't want that for audit students.
But, they might, if they have no objection, just give them their name and the date and their address. I mean, then you might be looking through it for, well, who took a class that hadn't been here in a year? Well, hey, let me call John and see if he wants to come back. You've got his phone number and name. But the ones at the certificate and the bachelor's, just like any other university or school, you have to fill out all their paperwork to be in the school. You don't opt out of anybody's school there. There's this.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Do you know the state that goes to something to do?
It's Pennsylvania and Oklahoma. Oklahoma wants us to be let's see, what is it? Through them. Yeah, but, it's, so like the bachelor's degree here, if we have to give the certificate, it's going to be a certificate of biblical studies will be given. It carries more weight than it's the same as the bachelor as far as our brethren's concerned, but it carries more weight than a certificate of basic Bible. It'll be a full certificate.
That you said there were 3, but it's just 2 then?
Well, the associate's the third.
No, I'm talking about Pennsylvania, Oklahoma. You said 2, there were just 2 schools.
Yeah.
States. Oh, I thought.
There's just 2
I thought
states.
Said there were 3.
Yeah.
Just 2.
So,
Do you know then how Oklahoma Christian would handle that? We've talked to like Harding, and they do accept some of the
yes.
transfers.
Yeah, most of our brotherhood schools transfer a lot of our hours.
So the state may not accept it, Oklahoma Christian might.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's entirely different. It's just they want us to be not certified, but accredited school. And we chose not to be accredited because once you become accredited, you have to start compromising things. And we're not going to compromise any Bible programs for some state.
That's a lot of money to be accredited.
Yes. I think basic starts out at $50-something thousand and goes up. The other form here now is this other one I passed out, the administrator's checklist. This is going to be your most important one here. So you'll put your date. Now, one thing I suggest in your master file is go ahead and type in the name of the school, your address, your email, things like that. And the administrator put this could be hidden written in, because each class you might not know who's going to administer it. You might have 3 or 4 administrators. Same thing here with the course title. But the center part, you've already got it filled in. When you pull one of these, all you have to do is say, well, okay, we're taking SAC system, and John Doe is the administrator, and the rest of it's filled out. And then you'll start putting your student names here, and then whether the level is either a B for bachelor or a C for certificate. Now, you might want to keep a separate one for your audit students, just for your records. Now, what you'll do is down here it says school check and the amount of. Now, what this will have is, say you have a bunch of certificate and a bunch of bachelor, what that totals up will be, you'll just add them up and church will send one check here for this. Now, we do want a separate check for materials. So one check will be for all the enrollment fees. The second check from the church will be, will cover the materials that they've purchased. Do not send us student checks or cash, just one check from the church, and that way it makes bookkeeping easier. And we've changed this form a little, but we haven't got it completed. There's actually going to be 2 lines down here of the new one. It'll have one for materials and one for enrollment fees. And then you'll put the check number and the date. Now, what you'll do with this is you'll photocopy it. The master goes in your file, we get the copy. And when you send it in with the first enrollment. Now, when they take the first test here, you can just put a check mark of whatever by each student that took this test. And if there was any memory work, like say there was 10 memory verses for the certificate, you put 10 there. And there was 25, say for the bachelor, you put 25 by that student that they've completed those. Make a copy of your master. So you've always just got one copy, but we get the new one coming in with the test now. We'll throw the original you sent us away, and we're on the same page with you. And this also helps you know what students have paid, where the student is on their memory work, so you can encourage them and help them along. And now, like, say this said SAC system up here, and it says research papers. Well, what you will do, let's say there's a paper due on the Holy Spirit and one on a paper in SAC system. You'll have a paper on the Passover and a paper on the Holy Spirit. All you have to do is, since we know the title, we know what's required, you can just put Pass or Passover. And then the other one, just the initials, if you want to, that student's finished that. That way, now the reading, there'll be readings they have to do. There might be book evaluations. If that's due here, just put that in this spot here. And you can abbreviate some of it, because we know once we have the title of the course, we know what the papers are that's due. And also, you have a record here. You can talk to the student and say, well, you need that one last paper. To grade the final paper, all of the memory work has to be completed, and all the research papers sent in with the final test, or it's going to lay on the Marge's desk as an incomplete course until we get that. After a certain amount of weeks as incomplete on their transcript, it might turn into an F. But I mean, they've done all that work. But you've got a record. You know that, well, you sent everybody's in here but Sally's one paper. Well, talk to her and encourage her. We need to get that in. You've done all the work. Let's get you passed in the course. And is there any other questions on this form somebody might have? It's pretty simple, and we've had some people in the past. Every time they'll start filling out a whole new one, writing everything. So that's why I say just keep your one, make us a photocopy of everything whenever you send the updated stuff in, and you've always got one form, you know exactly where you're at with your students. The duties of the administrator on page 7 at the bottom, it kind of goes into a lot of what you need to do. Now, some of the stuff we'd mentioned earlier, that get some other people involved, other administrators with you. One of you can keep attendance. One can collect the payments. Another one can be, you only want to have 1 or 2 that order from us. Reason we want the administrators on a signed form and you guys to let us know who can order. About 14 years ago when we first started these satellite schools, we get a phone call, somebody to answer it, say, well, we need 12 of these books for this course. This is such church. Well, 1 or 2 days later, we get a phone call from somebody different, and somebody else answers the phone. Well, we need 12 of these books for this course, and all of a sudden they're calling us. Well, why did you send us a double order? You know, so just have one person that calls in the orders, and that way you know where you're at and what's going on. There's again, like number 2, about that audit students, you know, if they don't wish to completely fill out one, you know, with an audit student, that's fine. Sometimes you might have outsiders that aren't a member of the church, and they don't want to go into all that detail just to watch the flick. So as you go through this, we've redone this a little. So we've tried to put it condensed, like the number 3 on page 8, the administrator checklist form. It kind of goes over what we just went over right there. So if you're getting another guy to be an administrator with you until they can get trained, you can teach them using this book and go over the things with them. There's now on page 8, number F here under 3F. There's another thing you can do with the memory verses too, is they can write them on a separate sheet of paper, like I said, but you can also have them grade their own paper. After they turn their test in, then they can grade their memory work with a different colored pen. And then you guys look at it, because we don't mail any of their memory work to us. That's part of the administrator's job to check that in where it is. Now we also, it doesn't have to be 100%. I know a lot of people have problems sometimes with memory, but if they have the bulk of it, 90% of it, and it's flowing accurate, you know, you can give them credit for it. It's if they start leaving out words or changing words that changes the meaning of the scripture, then you want to have them redo it. But it kind of, they're accomplishing something. Many people haven't memorized for years, since they were in school 30, 40 years ago. So this is good. We have, in these satellite schools, we've had as young as 14 years old taking it for credit, and close to 90 years old. Yeah, we had one guy, he's passed on now, but he was, I think, 89 when he graduated. So, you know, you've got all different age groups are going to be in this class. You have 3 different levels. They all have you as administrator. They all are watching the same video. They all have the same study guide. Just the memory work, the research paper, the reading is homework, so it doesn't affect the class. So you're training 3 levels of people to different degrees, and there's like the collecting for materials and stuff. Now, the tuition has to be paid, like I said, before they'll grade the midterm test. There's, when you mail, make sure your invoice is on the check you mail for paying for materials. Let's see, there is on each test, there's a place where the signature of the administrator, that's the form you signed. And so, say you have 10 people, they take the test, you need to sign every test that you were in the class with them, you didn't help them get answers, you administered. Now, you have to also check their study guides. At the end of each lesson, there's these questions they fill out on the questionnaire. So what you will do there is, usually what I've done in different satellite schools I've run, is while they're taking the test, I'm flipping through their books and seeing if each lesson is done. That way it's, you're already there, you're just sitting there while they're taking the test, so you can get that done without having to take it home or something to do it. So it makes it a little easier. And then on your form there, the test administrator form, all their workbooks were checked. That's, on some of them, it's worth 5% of their grade, the workbooks. Other ones, it's not part of their grade, but if it's not finished, they won't pass the course. So they do have to fill out the back of those study guides. Let's see, again, if they're, we have made an improvement now. Postal sending the test to us, it was expensive and it took a few days in the mail, then a few days to grade it, then call you and say, hey, you need to have them take another test. We're now set up, you can either mail it to us, you can fax us their test, or you can email them the test. And when you do that, the nice thing about that, if we've had at times the post office has lost a packet of tests, which that means the student has to take the test over. But with the email and the fax, we're getting it and you have the original in your hand in their file box. And then what we do is, we'll grade it and then send it back to you on fax or email. So it saves a lot of time, it saves a lot of money in postage and things. So those are a couple of improvements that we've done this last year for making it easier on administrators and things. Now, I'm not sure, I guess you have to have a fax, I know how it works, I'm not sure, I guess you have to have a scanner to do the, and now their research papers, we have to have that sent in a PDF format to us because we do require on research papers, their name and the title of the paper. So, we had people at one time, they'd use half the page on the front here with their name and the title, and then they'd start writing and say we wanted a 3-page, they'd hit make it fit. And so we'd have 1 or 2 sentences on the 3rd page, and it's in an 18 or 20 font with 1.5-inch margins. And so we do have a requirement that's in the book that says you have a title page with name and stuff. If it's 3 pages, it's 3 full pages, not a couple of sentences on the 3rd. It's 1-inch margins, a standard or typewriter, or a 12 font computer, and double spaced. That way either Doyle or Sammy, when they grade the papers, have room to write things and comments. So, but that, and it just helps students along in learning how to put things together. I do like these 3-ring binders. We have to do it when I went to school, and they still do it over here. Each of your courses, you have to do a 3-ring binder with all this stuff in it. I would recommend that you suggest to your students that they do one with all their different papers and research and tests and stuff to keep in, because say a year or 2 from now they're going to teach that course. Well, they're not going to have to reinvent the wheel. They've already got all their work they've done and notes they've done and research, and they just have to, tone it down or tone it up a little, and they're set to go teach. There's now that's another thing is you guys as administrators, when you look at these research papers, if they don't fit those requirements, just explain to the student, here's what it is. It's in the student manual, and it's in this blueprint book over here, or in the back of this, there's a section we're going to get to in a minute on dealing with the research papers. About 3 or 4 pages teaches them how to put a paper together, how to footnote, and so those are, and you'll get energetic ones. We have a doctor in Abilene he retired, he's a medical doctor, and like we wanted a half-a-page book evaluation. We get 6 or 7 pages with footnotes on his book evaluation. We have another, say we wanted a 5-page paper on the Passover. We get 20-something pages from him, all footnoted, and so you'll have students like that sometimes, and you'll have the others on the other end. So you're going to have a wide variety of brethren in there taking these classes, but work with them, compliment them. These guys are accomplishing something. Even your audit students, it's important. We used to do a certificate for audit students, but we've started we've quit doing that in the satellite schools. There's one back here when Richard starts going through his. Let's see, I put some back here, and I think it's in section 7 or 8. There'll be there's one back here. It shows a certificate that one satellite school's doing. It's a big blue one, and it's you put your school's name on it, like Albuquerque. They're at Netherwood, or their initials are Gabby, which is Greater Albuquerque Bible Institute. You can have letters like that or whatever you want. There's one right there. What section is that in? 8? Yeah, it's in section 8. So you guys design your own certificate, and what I'm saying is, it's just like, say, kids at VBS. You give them a little certificate after 5 days of being at VBS all week. Then here's these audit students. As adults, we're not any different. We like to get a certificate. So make up a nice one, and you can give it to all 3 levels out of your school with your name on it if you want to. But one thing we suggest is, maybe after a year, have a banquet. Invite the congregation to come, and then maybe present these certificates to the people in front of the rest of the congregation. They've accomplished something. It's a celebration time with them. There's now, and then on page 10, we have on some suggestions for the administrator, which you guys can go over that. There's, about encouraging people, how to keep your class going, make sure everything's there. Those are just some basic common sense things, but a lot of times, most of us, I know I do, I forgot so many little things, you forget things. So these are just there to help. And now on page 11, how and when to test. Now, almost all of these courses are 12 or 24 lesson. Now, 1 Corinthians has 22 lessons, and Timothy Titus has 13 lessons. It'll throw you off maybe a week. But what you'll do is, let's say on historical Christian evidences, you've finished the 6th lesson. Well, the 7th week, you'll have your test. No class, but a test. Now, you're doing Bible History 1, for example. After you finish the historical Christian evidence test, then you go into your Bible History 1, lesson 7, because their test is at the 12th week. So HCE you'll probably wind up then with 2 tests that week at the 24th lesson, or the 12th lesson and the 12th lesson of HCE in the halfway. Now, Bible History 1 is the only course that we have 3 tests in. And due to the fact that there's so much in there to learn, it's why we broke it up so it wouldn't be massive on the students. Some people, after they've finished, say, the 6 months, some schools will go right into the next courses. Some will have a week break. But you want to... you'll have that when they finish up, say, the 12th or the 24th lesson. The following week will be the test, which gives them this time not only to study the other lessons, but the last lesson you just studied for the test. Now, the things that are on the test, they'll have textbooks they read. No questions come out of textbooks. But let's say you're doing the Gospel of John. Well, they have to read the Gospel of John twice before the midterm and twice before the final. So anything in a book like that, a Bible book, is fair game on the test. And anything that's said on the video. So we don't pull trick questions out anywhere. We really don't have any trick questions either to try to stump them. These are just, we want the people to learn God's Word. It's basic things they should know. So the tests are pretty simple. There's Is there any questions on the testing? Okay. And we already covered about the retake, get it 70. Each member pays for his own materials. I'm on page 12. Now, here's our ordering options on 12 and 13, and it talks about, you can call us. The best way is to call in your order, and you want to start pre-registration before a class at least 2 weeks. Now, one other thing I want to mention on these DVDs, or if you're still using VHS tapes, is the course you're going to use, have some of your administrators, helpers, each of them take a watch one, and I'm not just see if it plays for 5 minutes, watch the whole 30 minutes, because when you multiple copy things, sometimes one of them might be going 20 minutes and all of a sudden it just stops. And as far as we know, it's recorded, because we test each one of them just to see if there's a voice on it. So a lot of times we've had people in the past, even when we've told them, check these, they'll call up, well, we got there last night, it wouldn't play. Okay. But you want to do it at least a couple of weeks before the class starts, so we have time to send you a new one. And those are warranted, so if you have bad ones or bad lesson, and say it's tape number 2, we'll send you that DVD. We've got time to get it to you before your class starts. Mistakes do happen, but the stuff is copyrighted. There is one exception we make on copying it. Let's say you have 12 people signed up to take this course with you, and anyway, the night of the school starts, you have 3 new people show up. Well, they're not going to have a study guide, so you have our permission to copy that first lesson, and then the next day just call me. We can get 3 in the mail to you. You'll have it for the next class, and they can just transfer their answers from what they did in the class into their new book. So there's no need to really order more material than you need or anything. We had to get a little particular on part of that. We were having people, well, send us 35 of this and 10 of each book, and then, well, we only had 2 students that wanted the books, and so the more you ship stuff, the more it can get damaged. So we're asking you, just what people have signed up and want, to order that, because as fast as the postal UPS is, they'll have their material, and like the first night, they're not going to need their textbooks that night, just a study guide. So but there is, you can return things, but if it's just because you were ordering more because you were hopeful a bunch of people show up, there could be a 20% restocking fee for that. And basically what that does, if there's some damaged stuff comes back, that 20% restocking covers damaged goods that we either have to give away or sell at a big discount. Yes, sir.
Are there times that your ordering group are on vacation? Do you have, like, in September or in December, is there a week or so that you are on vacation?
Well, mine usually fluctuates around. Like this last year, I was in Germany for 2 weeks, but we have mostly, I know myself and Virgil will usually take like maybe a Friday and a Monday with a weekend spread out. But when you call in for an order, if I'm not there, Marge or Danny can take your order. And usually very seldom is there 2 of us off at the same time. So there's actually 6 people, counting Virgil, that if one of us should be there to take your order. So, if you like to, it's good if you call me sometimes, because I can verify, go over some of your stuff and see if your file's updated. You had a new administrator, do you have a new shipping address or phone numbers, things like keep y'all's records up to date. Sometimes we're trying to get a more hands-on with everybody. We've mostly been, a lot of us, there's just a few of us, we're multitasking all the time. So we're trying to I've moved into a position that all I'm basically 95% of my time is just with satellite schools to try to get a more hands-on with you, where you can call me, I can call you, and try to build a better relationship, with the schools and help you. A lot of times people will let it, well, it's like anything in life. A lot of people will, instead of asking, they just let it fester and stuff, and then all of a sudden it's past the point of helping quickly, and it takes a lot of problems. But feel very free to call us anytime, either myself or Virgil, on any problems you're having in your school or suggestions you need or anything, and we'll do what we can to let's get it right then and get your school going. So we have an 800 number, and that way, it's, there's no such thing as a dumb question. It's every question's important. It's we all have, questions we need to have answered. There's we went over on page 14, we went over the memory work, and on page 15, you guys will want to read that about recall. It's just like any of us, we can listen to a sermon on Sunday morning. By Monday, we forgot 80% of what's said, and students in these courses aren't any different. So a lot of times, like I talked about, that maybe a pop test or just things that you can do that'll help them recall things. That's like the memory work. It's just things to develop their mind and keep them going. Okay, late work, we covered that basically a while ago. And, it's just something a lot of people are going to have to discipline themselves. I know we've got a society today that, like, one of my classmates spending the night, him and his wife with us, and we were talking about this generation today versus the older generations is like, well, like in sport, well, everybody gets a trophy. Well, okay, there's no winners or losers. That's not really teaching them about life. There are winners and losers. We want to encourage people to, be responsible. There's a lot in our society today that, well, nobody's responsible. I deserve this, you just need to give it to me. Well, no, in school here, like those certificates and stuff, 90% of the classes they have to be in, they have to do these other things. Somebody's responsible, and it's the student. Like if they're late for a test or they miss the test, they need to come to you. It's the student's responsibility. Now, you might, if they don't come to you, you might want to call them and say, hey, we need to get this taken care of, and encourage them. But, teach these people our brethren to step up. You're responsible. We want to develop integrity, character, honesty, things of that in their schoolwork. It's on page 17 starts the research papers. There's let me back up a little. There's a withdrawal from courses. If they've already taken a test and flunked both of them, and they will get a WF for that course, or if they've passed it, but sometimes maybe their job has taken them out of town for a month or two, and they'll get a WP on their test. It's on their transcript. There's transcripts. The first one we send to another institution is free. After that, they're $10 a piece to mail a transcript to another school. Withholding information, it's like, say the student owes for books and things, or there's other things at your school. We can withhold grades, transcripts, certificates until those things are taken care of. The change in a grade, I've had this, sometimes students on their tests say, well, wait a minute, the book, and they'll show us, and we've had to change some tests, but if it's right, let us know, and I'll go over their test again and regrade it and change on their transcript, their grade for them. The dress code is, you guys are pretty familiar with what's going on around us in the world out here, the dress. Your school does, as Virgil said, and I've said, it does represent the church and who we are as Christians. You know, things like, just a few things I just threw in there was, you know, shorts and halter tops, revealing clothing. That's, you know, I've been to some workshops and seen brethren wearing T-shirts with alcohol advertisements and stuff, and you're sitting there and, you know, this is your school. I mean, it is a Christian school, and we represent God, and we need to do things properly. It's and discipline. You know, we do have a different set of moral values than the moral values of the world out there. And your education system needs to have that. You can have a student that's disruptive in class. They can be causing problems. Well, it is a school. They can be asked to leave. You don't have to keep somebody in class like that that's hurting other students. So, you know, like it says here, you know, we cannot force anyone's behavior against their will. But, you know, again, you can put them on probation, suspension, or dismissal, you know, because you want to keep the proper Christian atmosphere in your school. Now, the research papers here, there's 2.5 pages that cover how to do a research paper. You might want to develop a questionnaire for your school where at the end of the class, you know, just fill out. You already have their questions for them, and then you could have a couple of blank ones. But like, you know, list some of the strengths or weaknesses you saw in our school. How can we improve it? What changes would you suggest? You know, how can we make this school more effective for not only the local congregation but the community? You know, because like we like to hear from you guys on things like that because we can't think of everything and cover it.
One thing that's been useful, and you know, in some of the feedback we've had, we provided some templates for some of the papers that they, so that some people are not as they haven't spun up on that sort of thing in the past in their life. So having a template electronically, you know, helps them.
Yes.
A lot.
There's under other ideas we kind of talked about, like a graduation party for the class. You know, put the people in front of the congregation. You know, give honor where honor's due. It's a lot of it, like you're going to see in, I think, in the first thing in section 8. If you turn back there, it says the Fulton Evangelist. That's their bulletin. They started off or ended up the year, you know, this feature in their school there, and like this photo here, that's 70-something people from 19 congregations was attending that course that they took. So this is just one idea or thought to put it in front of the people. So now to page 20, there's using your school for a community outreach. These are just some ideas put together of, you know, who do you know, what can you do, some scripture, just friendship evangelism. It's, you know, you talk to people at the barber shop, the grocery store. There's people everywhere. You know, you can talk about your school. Virgil and I was talking yesterday. Virgil was talking about a business card maybe that you guys have made for your school, and tells a little bit about it. Just hand it out to people. You know, they can come see your school. It's, you know, just different ways that you reach people. And, you know, there's a lot of the places before I became a preacher businesses I worked in and stuff, I never met anybody there that didn't want to talk about God and the Bible. It's, I know a lot of our brethren are shy about doing that. It's, but you just start a conversation and people just fall in line with it. You know, there are people out there that are interested, and there are truth seekers all through the community. So we just need to open up ways to reach them here. In section 3, this is our blueprint book here. And after you get past the photos in this first section, the table of contents, a lot of this stuff we covered in the training part over here, but it's all through here. Now, when you get to page 9,
What section are you in?
3, we have on page 9, we have the freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior courses. And again, as I said earlier, we only put them in alphabetical order so you could find them quickly. You don't have to teach them in that order. Some people now have followed like historical Christian evidences. They've jumped and followed it with Life of Christ. And basically you've laid a foundation that whether you believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God or not, the historical facts is this is a history book that's accurate. Then you follow Life of Christ and all of a sudden here's 24 lessons. Wow, this guy here, Jesus, is authoritative. You know, a lot of our society around us, including a lot of the Christian type churches, don't believe in the authority of the Bible anymore. So, you know, there's different ways for your community, if you're outreaching to them, what you think would do. I would recommend if you're opening to the community, you don't jump right in with distinctive nature of the church or Romans, but help build a foundation under them. And after they've taken so many courses with you, they're going to say, wow, well, and then when you do hit Romans or distinctive nature of the church, they start looking at that and say, well, everything else we had went right to the Bible. This is going right to the Bible. You know, you've kind of, you know, built a rapport with them, and they are looking at how do you study and what does it actually say. We've redone this over on, starting on page 11. If you'll look at the very last thing on Acts down here, it says Acts on 12 CDs, $93.50 for the set. A lot of students want the audio off of this because they can play it in their car all week while they're going to work and back. The Acts course on CD, for $166, that is the 12 CDs plus the set of 3 textbooks. The DVD for $321.96, if somebody wanted to buy it, that's the DVDs plus the 3 textbooks. And both of those also include 1 study guide. Well, the CD doesn't include a study guide because if they're already in the school, they have a study guide. And we have it listed, here's extra study guides are $10.99. So, and we did that for all of the courses all the way through, so whatever students want to pick up, they can. Now, if you go back to page 29, after they've finished the 40 courses, we do have other classes they can take. We have Greek 2. We're working on homiletics too. We haven't, it's in production right now. And we're also, Charles Spear, we're working on wisdom literature, 24 lessons on that one. On page 30, we have a leadership growth series. And we also, in the front of your book here, we have another one here. It's for leadership that churches are using. And you might have, like I was talking to a preacher the other day, he wants to be an administrator, but he also wants to take the test. So in his case, like you want to take, any one of you guys want to take it for credit, then you have another administrator will have the test. And that's more of an integrity thing because we don't want them to say, well, I would have got a good grade too like Dan did. He had the test, you know. Well, no, Dan didn't have the test. He didn't see it. So, but he's going to take this other one here talking about our online courses. He's going to be taking a course online plus the 2 courses in the satellite school. So he just wants to further his education. A lot of our brethren that are preaching, like Erie, Pennsylvania, when they first started with us, they had around 67 members. I was talking to him 4 years later, and they were averaging 156 people on Sundays. And they had people commuting from Ohio and New York to their school. So, and one of them out of New York was a preacher, but he had never been to one of our schools of preaching or universities. And he was excited because he was finally getting fed. So there's a lot of people that you don't know that would attend your school. Like up here in Amarillo, 60 miles away at Pampa, there was a man drove that 120-mile trip every week to take classes. So you're not limited on distance. Then we just listed a few other things on page 30, like these special studies, and our master's degree on page 31 is, that's some of the courses that are offered for people that want to go on to the master's degree. Or if you already have a bachelor's degree or graduated from Sunset, you can apply and start. These are mostly done online and at home, but the intensive week courses, you actually come here for 1 week, and for 4 hours you'll have one class, and 4 hours you have another class for that week with the actual instructor. And so it's, I don't know if any of y'all taken those master's classes or, yeah, so we have that. We've got about 5 minutes here. Does anybody have any other questions on some of these things?
In his church history, the 1800s, 15, 17, is the CD that's shown there at 30 to 50 books?
That's the audio off of the DVD.
Okay.
The 179 is actually the video. Stewart had worked, I think he said 20-something years on this. It's got a lot of good history in it and things. Now, it's not set up as, it's the outline study guide, we've set it up like the other study guides, but it's not set up as a course for credit. But it's one just the congregation and people, it's a very excellent course that you can have. There's, yes, sir.
We bought our curriculum about 1.5 years ago, and I'm pretty familiar with the curriculum, but I don't recognize this history of church and world culture. Is that a new one, or is that our?
Well, it had been in, and we took it out, and then we put it back in. It's basically, it just covers the basics of Christianity. It's a lot of times if you're dealing with people that have no Bible background, it's a great foundational course. It's a good course.
How does that affect people that want to teach it for credit?
No, it's not a credit course either. Oh yeah, it is a credit course. So they're going to have to take it anyway. It's part of the 40.
If we've already bought our videos at the time where you took it out.
Oh, well, yeah, the 40 you have will qualify.
It will have, okay.
Yes. Are any of your schools using VHS tapes right now? Anybody? No. We do have for this workshop here, we do have if any of you have not purchased the complete set, we have a workshop special. If you'll see either Virgil or myself, we'll give you the details on it. It's got a little extra discount for being here at the workshop. There's also, some of your schools might only have the original 32 courses. If you'll see me afterwards, we can give you a special deal on the other 8 courses to get you balanced, leveled at the 40. So, we're finished up here about 3 minutes early. So, we will tomorrow too, while we eat. Any questions you have or think of today, write them down, and any of us, Richard, Virgil, myself, will be glad to answer them and go over it with you tomorrow. Okay. Well, thank you guys for your attention and being here. And